Happy Saturday morning. That means it is time for the reality of real estate. Cynthia Hash joins us from findhomesusa.com, Find Homes Realty, where
Yep.
she holds court, she trains, she helps you find homes, she bakes cookies. I mean, you name it, she does it. She's one-stop shop. I don't know about I'm making up the cookie stuff. Cynthia, good morning. How are you doing?
Well, I can make a mean cookie, but I tell you, it doesn't happen that often because I'm so daggone busy with helping people buy and sell their real estate.
It's truth. It's truth. Last week's show had so many folks, sending notes and asking questions. You want to address a couple of those before we get into this week's show?
I think wasn't it was it Saturday the 17th? I think it was.
Was
I
it that?
think it was. I think it was back then because I think last week we did
Oh,
we had the guests
right.
that
We had guests on last
yeah,
week.
we
I'm
did.
sorry about that. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so so what I remember was there Philip, shout out to Philip in Charlottesville. He asked this question: If the buyer offers cash to buy land in Virginia, do you still recommend a realtor or an attorney? Well,
Mm,
the short answer is yes. Um, I will say this, you have to have an attorney in order to draft the deed.
that's
So
true.
even if you wanted to skip over, a realtor, you two were buddies or whatever, and you trusted each other, and
Right.
you know, um, but I'll be honest with you, the sometimes the worst deals are between family and friends. So,
Sadly, yes.
sadly, but attorneys have to be the ones to draft the deeds. Um, there are properties bought and sold without agents every day.
Hmm.
It's perfectly legal, but an attorney has to draft the deed. So whether it's a good idea or not to have, an agent,
Right.
well, now that's a different story. I say it's not a great idea. And but let's just say this.
Hmm.
If you are not doing business in real estate on a daily basis, on a full-time basis,
Right.
it honestly, there's just so much you don't know that could come back and bite you in the butt.
Like
Eh,
updates to laws or ordinances and things like that.
well, just that, and what's a study period? What am I supposed to do during a study period? Do I really want to buy this property? You know, do I really want to sell this property?
Hmm.
Could there be, mineral rights that were, put down 10 years ago and that are still
Right.
effective?
Easements
Could
and things like
all
that.
kinds of things, exactly. It could be, do you know that road is actually when it getting to the property, is it really
A
is
real
it real
road.
a real road? You know? So but a good full-time realtor and a real estate attorney who actually specializes in real estate, they are going to be valuable to you
Mm,
and quite frankly worth their weight in gold. And so what I would recommend is that you have an agreement upon the purchase price based on covering those professional fees, which are all negotiable.
sure.
And so it depends on, I mean, I've done plenty of deals for, a lot less commission just because they knew each other. They were neighbors or they were friends or they were relatives.
Mm,
And what I would do is just draft my service agreement accordingly.
okay.
Well, if you sell it to this particular person, this is what my commission's going to be because I'm not having to do any marketing for you, you know, that kind of
However,
thing.
if that falls through, then you have to have fallback. Also,
Mhm.
you were talking about the things that a realtor, knows. I mean, there's also, how do you because realtors, you have to be, one part lawyer, one part private investigator, because the due diligence that a home buyer like,
Hmm.
me and my wife were, I mean, you're like, well, where do we find this stuff? How do we do this? Who should we call?
Exactly. Well,
And
not to mention
well,
the psychologist, because
have you been talking to my wife again, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But basically, the settlement attorney is going to handle or title company, whichever one. But an attorney can give you legal advice. Title companies can't. So
Mm,
just so you know,
right.
but they're going to help you handle the searching and providing the title commitment and so forth, so to make sure that there's no cloud on title. And there's a lot of fraud going on out there
Yeah.
nowadays.
We've all
Yeah.
forgotten that bearing false witness
Mm.
against thy neighbor thing.
Oh
Ellen
yeah.
also, Ellen asked or made an interesting comment, because there was a part of that show a couple of weeks ago, you were talking about wills, and she
Hmm.
said that her mother's was on three post-it notes. I mean, I guess as long as it's written and signed, it doesn't matter
That's
how
right.
big it is, right?
So that is what you call a holographic will. That is literally a thing. It's called a
Okay.
holographic will, and I love it. I just love it. I think Ellen, kudos to you for bringing that up, Ellen in Fluvanna, and she's the literally three post-it notes. That is absolutely crazy. You would think, but smart.
How
Mom was
so?
smart. Well, because, whenever she did that, she had to have done it thinking exactly what her heart wanted her to say and
Okay.
what it needed to say in order to settle whatever may be dispute or whatever
The
that
family issue,
the
the
family,
family estates and all.
whatever that
You-
might have been. I don't know how you would fit it all on three post-it notes, but she
Right.
must have done a darn good job.
Small. Well, but does that also speak to how detailed a will has to be? I mean, does it have to be,
Doesn't have
the
to be
party of the
detailed.
first part and and then the sanity clause at the end? And
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is that a holographic will is something that will actually take precedence over one of those informal ones.
okay,
One of those formal ones. An informal holographic will is supposedly takes the precedence over a one that was drawn up and had witnesses and notarized and all that kind of
really?
stuff. Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what makes it a holographic will? Is it just because it's in your
Handwritten.
handwriting?
Yep,
Okay,
handwritten. That's what
okay.
it is. That's the definition of it. And if you think about it, before there was such a thing as a typewriter, all wills were holographic.
Yeah.
So, and if you go back in
Oh,
the, deep deed books and so forth in whatever county you live in, it's actually kind of fun. You want to take a little history trip,
oh,
then
sure.
there you go.
Well,
Yeah, there you
it
go.
was interesting. One of the very first things I covered here when we moved here 20 odd years ago was a clerk of the courts race for Charlottesville City. And
Okay.
the big issue was the disposition of all the deeds that are still at that courthouse. Now they're doing renovations on it all. They've built the new courthouse, but that courthouse in Court Square has been the courthouse for Charlottesville
Yeah.
since the 18th century. And so there are deeds in there. Somebody told me the deed or the transaction paperwork that actually moved all the properties into the ownership of the trust that is now the University of Virginia are
Hmm.
in these in these documents.
Yes, sir, they certainly are. It's amazing. If you ever want to do a field trip for a history class,
Hmm.
that is the place to go because you can actually see. And here's the thing. Let me just, I don't know, conspiracy theory thing here. But why do you think they don't want you to they meaning, I don't know, government, they
Hmm.
meaning, I don't know, whoever they are, it don't want you to be able to read or write cursive.
Because you can't read the history books because they're all written
That's right.
Oh, that's it. Oh, I agree
Hmm.
with you on that.
Yeah,
It is fascinating. I mean, if you live in Carsbrook and you go see the deed for, the Carr family,
yeah,
you can really see some history. Anyway,
that's
so
right.
thank you for
Well,
addressing those notes and
absolutely,
keep the cards and
absolutely.
letters coming. And
Please do.
you
Yeah.
want to give your email address out? These came in to me while the show was
Oh,
going
sure,
on because everyone
absolutely.
knows
I'll
me.
be happy to get an email
Yeah.
from anybody that is not a spammer. Let's just say that.
You hear
But
that, spammers that are listening?
they're listening. They're gonna pay attention. I doubt it. Anyway, it's hash, which is my last name, HASH, at findhomesusa.com.
Oh,
So, back to a little bit of what Phil said, there is such a thing as title fraud, but there was something I wanted to make sure I mentioned before we moved on to the topic today, and
okay.
that is that um, someone had asked about mortgage relief scams because we were talking about that a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot of them.
unfortunately, they are real. So I want you to write this down, okay? The Federal Trade Commission Consumer Advice. This is where you need to go to get that advice. Go to consumer.ftc.gov
Okay.
and then look for mortgage relief scams, okay? Because it's on that site. And then if you were a victim of any kind of fraud, make sure you file a claim at I.gov.
I'm sorry, your microphone went sideways there for a second. What was
Oh,
the
I'm sorry,
website?
IC3.gov.
Okay.
IC3.gov. That's if you've been a victim of any fraud. And that takes you to the Internet Crime Complaint Center. And
Okay.
how to report a fraud, just go to reportfraud.ftc.gov. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm
Good.
hoping some of that will help you. What we were going to chit chat about today is, and thanks again for everybody to, contributing and
Hmm.
asking. Um, in light of all this gorgeous, wet mm, ice and snow that we've had,
Oh,
I
it's
know that
beautiful. If
it's
you don't have
it's
to go to the store, it's
it,
gorgeous.
it's gorgeous under those circumstances. That's right. But let me ask you this: do you think the snow actually slows buyers down?
I don't know if I need to move somewhere, I might be grousing about it, but
Hmm.
if I need to move by a certain date, I need to move by that date, rain or snow, right?
That's kind of it, yeah. But I will say that, according to stagedinterior.com, they really brought up a couple of good points, and I wanted to kind of go over it. When buyers aren't touring out in the snow, they're actually comparing. So they don't stop looking. It's just online that they do more of.
Hmm.
So snow days actually tell us how it increases the number of online visits.
Okay. I can see
Hmm.
that. I can see, hey, we've got some time. We don't have to go anywhere. The kids are off school.
Hmm.
Open up the laptop and let's look around.
Yeah, exactly. And so that happens good bit. But I will say that that this shifting of behavior that buyers do during, bad weather like this or good weather, however you like whether you like the snow or ice or not.
Hmm.
It might limit some movements, but I will tell you, you know, I mean, it's not going to stop them. And so don't lay down and like, the seller might say, "Oh, well, I don't want to leave now, Well, you got to tell your agent that you don't so that they can block that time off if you don't want to leave.
Right.
But if
Yeah.
it's a vacant house, still make sure that you get your normal person, a contractor, to plow the driveway, to
Oh, yeah.
shovel the snow on the sidewalk but up to your house and your front porch or whatever.
Hmm.
So don't just make sure that you remember to do that because if you don't, you're going to make a mistake and might lose somebody. I mean, during this snow. It hasn't melted yet.
Now,
But
when is
during
the high
Yeah,
of 20 degrees. It's tough to make
exactly.
things off.
But during the snow, I actually got a house under contract,
There you
and
go.
who would have ever thought, you know? But here's the thing: is that you the photos are so important. They're going to zoom into all kinds of into details into the photos more so than ever because they have the time to do it because they're sitting at their laptop instead of going and seeing houses necessarily.
Mhm.
So they're going to actually criticize the marketing even more. So be careful of that as well. And they're going to rewatch and watch, all the videos. Make sure you have videos on your your listings and so forth. Um, but what these things, even though winter lighting actually seems a bit harsher, what it does is it might make it feel a little bit too cool, too cold, too
Mhm.
stark. So even if you do some sort of staging, even if it's virtual type of staging, which that's a thing now, so that would be definitely a good thing.
And that's some
And
good software too. Can I just
great
say,
software.
I mean, I open up these pictures and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, that's a pretty dining room set. And then the next picture is the dining room's completely empty. I'm like, whoa,
That's
that's
right.
very detailed. I don't know how all that, I mean, I conceptually know how it works, but I mean,
Well,
it must be very difficult to do.
yeah, well, I don't know that it's difficult other than just time, maybe a little bit time consuming.
Well,
Um, but the
that is a
person who
kind of difficulty.
It is for me anyway. Yeah, that's why I pay somebody to do it.
Okay. Mhm.
Because yeah, I think it's having the professional and being able to rely on professionals. That's why Find Homes Realty really we have a team every time we do a listing, every time we help a buyer, it's every time we help a seller. We have a team. It's all a team effort and we hire those professionals. There's no doubt about it. But let me just say this, buyers aren't necessarily moving faster. What they're doing is they're moving right now with more confidence than they might have been in the past. So just think about that.
Okay.
They also snowstorms, they don't they don't delay decisions. They might reshape them, but they're not going to delay them.
Hmm.
Okay, so homes that photograph well or that are photographed well, they're going to feel warm on the screen no matter what. And
Yeah.
so this is why consistency really truly matters with the team that you're working with in real estate. So, go to findhomesusa.com and check us out a little bit. But
Good.
timing, okay, is what wins in the wintertime,
How do you mean?
especially.
You
Well,
mean,
if yeah, you have to collaborate very closely with a trusted photographer,
okay.
and then you have to make sure that you eliminate any kind of gaps that the weather can might maybe easily disrupt in some way.
Hmm.
And then when you do the installation of the photography and all that kind of stuff, you got to make sure those things are moving like well-oiled machines. Don't,
Yes.
those trash cans need to be put away. The cars need to be out of the driveway. You just don't, everything needs to be picked up. The beds need to be made, et cetera, et cetera. But you can say that online activity can increase to, 30-35% during this kind of cold, snowy weather.
Okay.
And so,
Wow.
so yeah, but get this. If you took your pictures before the cold, snowy weather came along and you weren't consistent with it, thinking that it was going to sell immediately, well, then now you're back there biting your nails because you're like, well, crud, I could have made this look better and we would have sold it during the snow.
Right. It looks like it's been hanging around for a while. It's got autumn leaves in the picture and things like that.
Yeah, but I will say this. Sometimes I've actually taken pictures during the summer and putting because they knew they were going to like taking it in September
Hmm.
because they knew they were going to move in um, January. They wanted to put on the market in January.
Right.
They didn't want to put it on the market during the holidays, anything like that. And I've also had people that where they put it on the market during the holidays, and that's when they say their house looks the best, you
Oh,
know.
well, yeah. I can see that too. A fire in the fireplace and
Yeah,
stockings hung
yeah,
there and lights and but whatever it is, you've talked about staging on several programs before too. I
yeah.
mean, it's not just, put down new carpet or put in some generic looking furniture. I mean, there's a lot
No,
that goes into it.
there is a lot that goes into it. But I think what I'd like to do is go through some data
Mhm.
that we have that this is the nationwide data that we have currently. This one is pretty nice, pretty incredible. The median list price, and this is through data through December, how the housing market has performed nationally.
Okay.
And the median list price was 419,000, so almost 420. That's up 0.2% year over year.
Wow.
Not bad.
Yeah.
They
Is that a
because
lot? I mean,
it's
contextually,
not
is not a
no, it's
lot?
nothing compared to what it could have been, what it was maybe 8 years ago.
Okay.
Um, but price per square foot, that was $209 price per square foot. That was down about 1%
It's pretty
year
good.
over year.
Do
I,
how do homes? I've never really seen. I mean, I'll see square footage on a home listing, but
mhm.
I've never seen like price per square foot. I was even told that office space now under a certain size doesn't really get into
Price
price
per
per
square
square
foot.
foot. Is that true? I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't, I think from a residential standpoint, it's very difficult because you have to compare apples to apples. So you can't do price per square foot with a, 100-acre farm versus
oh yeah,
a quarter acre, house in a neighborhood. You have to make sure you're comparing apples to apples.
yeah, I see
Uh,
it. Okay,
mhm. But days on market, 84 days. Haha, how about that? That's up 9% year over year.
is
And
that's
active,
what you were talking about? Is becoming a seller's market? It's
it's,
becoming
well,
harder to.
it's less of a seller's market, more of a stable market, heading towards a buyer's market.
I always get that mixed up. I'm sorry. I can't tell you which one is which. This is
That's all
why
right.
you're the real estate professional and I'm just the radio guy.
Well, the other thing, active inventory. This is proof right here. That's up 16%
Wow.
over year. Now,
That's a
this is
good number.
nationwide, okay,
Okay.
nationwide. And then months of inventory, this is telling you something right there. It's about halfway, it's up to it's only about 2.8 months, so less than 3 months still.
Hmm.
Really, when it's a truly stable market, you're usually looking between 3 and 5 months of
Okay.
inventory left. And so what that means is that's a saturation point.
Hmm.
What that means is if no one ever put another property on the market, it would take 2.8 months to sell the entire inventory. Okay.
Okay.
So that's what the saturation rate is. But the price reductions. Wow, listen to this. 39% of active listings had price reductions.
So they went to market with one price and they're like, it's not going. So come back a little bit.
That's right. So
Okay.
now, what does that tell sellers right now? Ah, you
Yeah,
better
you got.
price that thing right, right?
Yeah. Well, that's
Uh-huh.
again one of the things you talk about with realtors is sitting down and knowing what the market is, not just saying, "Hey, last year this was going on."
Oh, you got to be right on top of it.
Hmm.
This is why, if you're hiring an agent that only sells one or two properties a year, or even four or five, it doesn't matter. You're really not going to get the best expertise, I think, along those lines. But I think locally though, and right now I'm the report that I would be referring to at this moment is um, is actually about It's not bad. So you think this is a home sales, okay, and this is like Charlottesville and all the surrounding counties
Hmm.
there. Okay, so we're looking at home sales being up about 17.5%.
Wow. So people are
Finally,
moving. Yeah, that's a
finally, yeah.
log jam.
hmm
And you're
And then
saying, but there's an increase in inventory, and that's a big thing.
oh my gosh, yes, that's exactly right. So the increase in inventory is like over 34% than it was last year.
Okay.
Okay. But you think active listings are only 925. 10 years ago, it was way more than that,
That
you
does
know?
sound like a low number. Yeah, I hadn't thought
Yeah,
about that. Yeah.
way more. And then you figure at median days on market, this is kind of looking good for buyers as well, and that is 18 days. So they don't have to scramble for every single property that and write six offers before they can finally get the one that's accepted. Um,
Yeah.
and then median sales price, it actually is down about 7%.
7%. That's
Yeah,
a significant number.
I think it is. And I think what's happening is, well, let me just say this. You go to other places like other states and whatnot, we're
Mhm.
still a very expensive place to live in
Yeah,
this area.
I've
Uh,
heard that.
but you're looking at 446,000 as being the median sales price when a dozen years ago it was, $100,000 less than that at least.
Hmm.
And so, but year over year, it's going down by 7%. So what is this also saying to sellers? You better sell now or else you're going to be chasing the market.
You think it's going to start
Yeah.
coming rolling back to that point where, whatever you want your house to be valued at is not going to be quite there?
You're absolutely right about
Yeah.
that. It's like if somebody called me 2 years ago, okay, and
Mhm.
said, I'm thinking about selling my house. What do you think I can sell it for? I would give them a figure based on hours worth of work that I would do to research and make sure I give them an accurate figure. Then they call me 2 years later and
Wow.
they're ready to sell. And I'm like, you do realize I'm gonna have to do. I can tell you it's not going to sell for what we thought it was going to sell for 2 years ago.
New projections, but
Yeah.
nothing as dire as 2007, 2008.
No, nothing like that. So what the good news is that even though the pandemic, the the COVID boom, okay, really kind of messed everything up, it looks like though that it's becoming a little bit more stable
Okay.
at a at a pace that's a little bit easier to digest.
Okay.
And yeah, from the standpoint of a consumer, could because consumers back during the whether it was the COVID boom, whether it was the boom in '05, whether it was the Great Recession in '08, those kinds of things. It's not like that.
Okay.
It's a gradual thing. It's been happening for this whole past year, but very, very gradually.
Hmm.
And it was bound to happen, but it's not happening like in a snap, like you look
Right.
and you go, "Whoa, what just happened?"
No
You know.
shock to the system or anything.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think the number of closed sales is getting better, and so that's actually a good thing. Of course, we lost, uh, you know, a ton of realtors
Oh yeah.
during COVID, and then during class action lawsuit, right after the settlement and right
Hmm.
before the settlement. I mean, I knew agents that were like, "Wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm required to give, I have to require somebody to sign some paperwork with me before I even show them the
Mm.
property." Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's
You should have been doing that all along, frankly. Uh,
just good business practice.
yeah, but then they're the ones that say, I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. And then they go by the wayside. So that's one good thing too. Like Find Homes Realty, I am involved. So I do not compete with my agents, but I am very much involved. Very much involved in my own sales, but I'm also very much involved in teaching my agents. And I'm definitely looking for agents, that's for sure.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, definitely would love for anybody to call me and I'll show them the ropes, try to let you know uh, where you can go and what do you need to do first, and
Okay.
and what are the things that are what can you do to kind of start thinking about this, kind of
Okay.
thing.
Very good.
So
Well,
yeah,
get the cards and resumes together, and we're
yeah,
to just go to findhomesusa.com and
yep.
post to you there.
Yeah, yeah, you'll see everything that you need to right there. I think what you'll see is resources and you can contact me right on our resources page.
Okay. Very
And
good.
yeah, and also you can go to cynthiahash.com/teacher, but just make sure it's just HTTP colon slash
Okay.
slash.
All right.
Yeah, so that'll help, I think, with folks who need want to kind of do a different thing. Who makes the best, I think, the best realtors is is retired teachers.
Nice. Yeah, the fertile market they probably could use with the extra income. Anyway, Cynthia, our time is up for this Saturday morning. It is the reality of real estate. Cynthia Hash, Find Homes Realty, findhomesusa.com. Cynthia, you have a marvelous weekend. I hope you have lots of showings and people don't mind the big ice flows and the driveways and such. And we'll talk to you next Saturday.
Thanks much.